Howdy, howdy, Sioux Devil here. Pretty excited. Patch 3 notes came out from CA, and it looks like my favorite faction, the Dwarfs, are going to get some love. I'm going to go through some of the multiplayer balancing notes and kind of give some of my thoughts on what they're going to mean in general. And you can go and take a look at them online very easily on the Total War Wiki. But they're pretty major. We'll go first here with the balancing. The max heroes in custom and multiplayer has been reduced from 4 to 3. I think that's going to really hurt the beastmen who rely on those Gorbles. It might not make that much of a difference to Empire because I see a lot where they have one Lord, two flying paladins or something, and then a spellcaster. So their basic build is not going to change that much. The cost of rank increases has been reduced. So I'm going to have to do the value of chevrons and analyze that. So it looks like those chevrons are going to be a much better value, and we'll see what that comes out to be. Non-rifle missile infantry has a +5 range, which I think is a good thing. The the non-rifle missile infantry should have, I think, a little bit better range, and it really does. And oh, rifle infantry +10 range. That's good. The Thunders are gonna be crushing when you see what the improvements are to the Thunders when we get down here. This is huge for the Dwarfs. No range increase to Iron Drakes. That's fine. All flying mount options +50-ish cost. That is going to be massive for the Dwarfs. The Dwarf army struggles against flying units, and it is going to make a very big difference. It's going to make the Dwarfs a lot more competitive, and Chaos for that matter. They can field some flying mounts, but I think they're mostly a ground and pound infantry, and I think that'll be a big help there. HP regeneration, including potions, has had a unit ability scaling pass, so all units now have a limit to the amount of hit points that can be regenerated, which is inherently scaled with the unit's hit points. So potions are still going to be there. They're still going to have good value. I've seen some people suggest they should be more expensive or change, but I think we'll see how that change comes out. I think it'll be a good one. Um, Community team now have +5 armor piercing when in threads. Ha ha ha. Various tweaks to magic missiles, reducing the strength and volume. So a reduction in Gaze of Nagash, in Shim's Burning Gaze, like those spells that can really snipe you out are going to be even less effective. And it really is going to make a bigger difference for the Dwarfs, who have inherent magic resistance on all their characters. So that's a really nice change for the Dwarfs specifically, and for everyone. I think it'll make the games a lot better. I see those one-shots are really frustrating for anybody to deal with. Direct damage has had a unit ability scaling pass, so all abilities and spells using this should now produce similar percentiles across multiple unit scales. So what that is saying is some units with, say, 3,000 health versus a unit with 8,000 health, they'll be scaled, so you can't just wipe out a unit with low health, like, say, for example, Karen Wraiths or something like that, where magic was super strong against those low health units, so it'll scale. Now, for the green skins, they're going to add 50 cost to Azeg, so I'm not certain why that is, but Mork was too morky, and it'll be nerfed ever so slightly, and Gork has been buffed a smidge, so I imagine that's Little Wah and the Big Wah, and I think it's the Little Wah with Itchy Nuisance and Sneaky Stabbing. I think that's getting the nerf, and it's super powerful. I've seen it used to great effect lots, but that's pretty much it for the greenskins. Now the Beastmen, the Giant, -12 MA, -12 CB. I don't know what MA and CB stand for, unfortunately. Looks like they're going to be better somehow. The Cygor minor accuracy decrease, I think that's a good thing. Those Cygors are tough to face, and in an artillery battle as the Dwarfs, you can't handle them. The KS Warhounds have a -25 MP cost, so multiplayer, so they're going to be cheaper, and I think that's good. The Beastmen need cheap cavalry. I think that's a really nice touch for the Beastmen. Now here are the Dwarfs. So miners, warriors with great weapons, and quarrelers are all -25 cost. So I think that's going to be pretty significant, especially for the quarrelers. I don't know about these. The warriors, will see how that plays out. I mean, that is something. The quarrelers with the great weapons do +1 damage, +1 AP damage, +2 missile attack. I I don't know how much of a difference that is going to make with the great weapon quarrelers, but here's the big one, the Thunders, +2 AP damage. That is huge. Plus accuracy, that is massive. Now they do lose a little on reload time, but focusing down lords that are flying in is going to be so much more effective. The Thunder is already a crushing unit if you can get some shots in, but often on those first shots you get, the accuracy is low. But with that additional AP damage and that additional accuracy, your Thunders are going to be a must-have type of unit. I mean, unless you're going for a full rush build, but the Gyro Bomber and Gyrocopter have a +5 range, so I think the Gyrocopter, or the 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 Gyro Bomber has 130 range, I think, and this is a steam gun, so it has 70 range, so it'll be 75. That'll make slight differences. Thorgrim, -50 cost. That is huge. Thorgrim is such a great hero. He's going to be way more effective with less Lord sniping and less hero characters in the game. And this big one, Flame Cannon, -150 to the cost in multiplayer. So that's going to be pretty big. These Flame Cannons, they were definitely cost prohibitive at 1,400, and they're going to come down to 1,250. Maybe they might be useful against, the Beastmen or Greenskins or Bretonia, factions that have a lot less armor. We'll see. And Iron Drake's +10 to magic resistance. So I'm assuming they were a constant target if they were even brought out. I really don't know how much of a difference that's going to make, but definitely the Dwarfs are going to be more competitive for sure, especially in consideration of all the other changes that are taking place. So for Bretonia, Mounted Yeoman -50 cost, and Mounted Yeoman Archers +5 range, which I think, I don't know if Bretonia will even use those anyways, but we'll see. These Mounted Yeomen are pretty weak, and the Archers, maybe for some harass, we'll see. The Hippogriff -mass, which is really good. That is one of the other things that's really going to help the Dwarfs, is that often they come in with those Hippogriffs and you try and surround them and you can't stop them from just walking out. So that's really going to slow them down from being able to come in, dive bomb your Lord or dive bomb your Quarrelers or Thunders and just fly right out with no problem. You're going to be able to surround them and slow them down a lot. The Empire Outriders, -5 range. Those Outriders are can be pretty devastating against the Dwarves, so I think that's good. They already have a very short range, though. The Griffin, -mass, same great thing. These Handgunners, +2 AP damage, +1 second reload time, and -2 ammo. So they don't get the increase in accuracy that the Dwarves do, so these are going to start feeling quite a bit different. They were basically the same with the exception of the armor the Dwarfs have and shields and leadership, but if they could sit back and shoot, they were fundamentally the same. So they have a little less ammo. The Crossbowmen, -2 ammo, that'll bring them to be the same as the Dwarfs, which I don't know why they had 24 ammo and the Dwarfs had 22. The Greatswords. So the Greatswords are the best infantry in the game, hands down. They're fantastic, and they've got a -1 bonus versus infantry. I don't know how much of a nerf that's going to be, but we'll see. Now the Spearmen -attack speed, I never knew they had a increased attack speed, or perhaps they're going to take them from that 3.8 second melee animation speed to something like 4.5 seconds or something like that. These guys can be really effective because of the nature of their melee animation. When you look at, say, a Black Orc who has to take a giant big swing, it takes a lot longer to wind up and actually execute that animation, whereas a Spearman just has to push forward. So even though they have the same time, 3.8 seconds between their melee animation, the Spearman might be able to get off more attacks for that reason. So Another interesting, we'll see how that plays out. You don't see a whole lot of spearmen as the dwarfs, so it's not going to make a big deal. But these great swords, you do see a lot of them against Empire, so with the dwarfs. Hold the line and Blood Roar, change to passive abilities. Blood Roar is not going to make any difference against the dwarfs. It will make a difference against, say, the Beastmen or Empire, factions that have a lot of low morale units like Bretonia, where that Blood Roar could just start a mass rout. And I've seen where that game goes. And another huge one, Net of Ammontok radius has been reduced and the upgraded magic cost fixed. So this is going to be, it's going to be very valuable for the dwarfs, and against chaos this could be absolutely crushing. I've seen the strategy professor use this to incredible effect. It's almost painful to watch, and I think it'll still be very useful against the dwarfs. I mean, the way I play, but we'll see how much that radius has been reduced. Now the vampire counts, the Vargulf plus attack pushback force. So I'm not certain, maybe they're going to be pushing you back as they attack. Manfred, minus 100 cost, so we're going to see a lot more Manfred on the field at that cost, only minus 50 on flying mounts. The Vampire Lord, MD set to 45 on all mounts. Not sure what that stands for. Black Coach, Black Nimbus, it's changed its resistance to all, and it's increased its resistance to 66. So apparently they're buffing the Black Coach. We might see some of those. As the dwarfs, I don't know if you will, but the Graveguard, again, this is fantastic for the dwarfs. Minus 1 bonus versus infantry. These Graveguard with great weapons are a devastating unit against the dwarfs, and this is huge. The Fellbat, minus 20 speed, that'll make your gyrocopters that much more effective, because they'll go from 120 speed to 100. Your gyrocopters are 110, you're going to be able to kite them. And these Direwolves, minus 50 cost, I think that's actually a good thing. It might encourage some vampire players to bring some of those cheaper cavalry, or not cavalry, but you know what I mean. And Manfred is slightly stressed upon the arrival of Dad. Okay, Night Shroud has been given an extra radius and much greater strength. I don't know what that does, but we'll see. Chaos, the Lord of Change, plus 20 AP damage, plus 100 HP, and plus 15, I don't know. Marauder Horseman, this is going to be rough. Well, it's not going to be rough, but the ones with the javelins and the axes, minus to their cost, they are the best possible counter to your gyrocopters, and I think you're going to see those showing up in your chaos games. These axe chuckers they have armor piercing, and they can really knock down your gyrocopters fast. They have low morale, so you can go drop your bombs and rout them really fast, but it's going to be a lot more of a competition if chaos starts to bring those units against the dwarfs. And the Beastmen, Malagor, the Crowfather, now grants increased starting winds of magic instead of a charge and speed bonus. So that's the notes. I think these changes are all fantastic. I'm extremely happy. I'm really looking forward to the new meta. You're going to see a giant change in multiplayer battles. And I mean, the great factions like Empire and say Greenskins are still going to be great, but this is going to allow Chaos and the Dwarfs to catch up a lot. So we're going to really see a lot more games that might not have been more competitive, because with all these flying mounts and going up in cost, the Dwarfs and the Chaos get better just because they're not spending that money on those flying mounts, and those can be really difficult to deal with an enemy air force. And it might be, you might see less flying mounts. It could be a decision to make. So if you look at 4 flying mounts, that's going to be an extra 200 gold. That's not a full unit less, but really it is something, and it's going to be meaningful with some of the other nerfs to Empire and to their ability to snipe characters off the field, and with the reduction in potions especially, that's going to make a big difference, because you're going to be less able to come in, dive bomb the dwarfs or chaos, and get out, heal up, and come back and do it all again. It's going to be a lot more painful to do that, which is going to make a massive difference for the dwarfs. So I'm really excited. If you have any comments, put them down below. I'm really looking forward to this patch, and I hope you found that information useful, and I will see you soon.